Tubers and trolls, welcome back to Telesplash Gaming. I'm so pumped. I feel like I was shot to the heart with a nostalgia arrow today. I just received from VideoGame Boutique off of Etsy my ultimate modded PS2. Now this has 4 terabytes of ROMs and emulators. It has some of the old consoles and systems on it, but the main selling point for me is almost a full set of PS1 games and a ton of PS2. So stick around, let's unbox this thing and see what I got. First off, I just want to say, definitely took some time putting this together because there's a ton of tape on here, so we'll have to fast forward through the actual unboxing parts. I don't think you guys want to hear that over and over again. So, I had a PS2 for a long time, like a lot of things. You get ready for the next system and you don't think about collecting or, you know, the benefits of keeping all your old stuff. I have my old, you know, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, 64, you know, a lot of those, but this was one that I got rid of, and I'm sad, but I'm excited. I can't wait. Oh, alright. First thing I see here, network adapter. It says hard disk drive on it. I never had one of these when I originally had a PlayStation 2, so we're going to go ahead and check that out. Now, one thing with this is, I actually, Saunders, the gentleman that I bought this from, he actually kind of hooked me up a little bit. We've had some really good rapport, and he actually threw in an extra controller for me, but typically this will come with one controller, and he was nice enough to throw in a second controller for me specifically, and not only that, but a very cool, very unique, you know, liquid, you know, PS2 wireless controller. So that's really cool. That was really cool of him. So Saunders, if you watch this, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And some of the cables. Power cable, of course, standard. The second controller, so matching wireless controllers, really cool, really pumped about that. I never had a set of wireless controllers the first time I had it, so this will be neat to have that. Look at this. Little link cable for him, or the link, the wireless, plug those in. So that's neat. This is all new to me. You know, I always have the wired controllers, so this is going to be a learning experience. Oh, cool, even threw in, got a remote. Pretty pumped about that. The other thing that he threw in that I, you know, am really happy with is he threw in a PS2 to HDMI connector. Now, typically it's not going to come with your standard purchase, but again, I got an extra controller as well as the PS2 to HDMI, so I really appreciate that. And the other thing I'm going to say is this is really well packaged. Everything is, you know, really well boxed up and bubble wrapped. So the nice thing is I feel like, you know, hopefully it was never dropped, but if it was, I feel like it would withstand a pretty good drop. So I really think he did a great job packing this. I'm really happy with that. Makes me feel good. And then he also throws in a memory card. So with your purchase, you get one controller, you get a memory card, you get all the, you know, connections. Typically you get component cables, not the PS2 to HDMI, but he was nice enough to throw in the PS2 to HDMI for me, so I'm really excited about that. Now here is what I'm talking about. This is the brains of the whole system. The old school IDE hard drives. Now these, I've never seen the fatties at 2 terabytes, so this is really cool. And they're not, no, they're not the old school, so they're pretty new. Interesting. Definitely got some mods on it. 2 terabytes each, tons of emulators and ROMs on there, so I'm really excited. You can tell this is brand new, these aren't used, so again, high quality, not getting used stuff. He's not, you know, just going through his junk drawer sending stuff out, which I really think is really cool and really nice. Got the wireless controller manual, so that's neat, so that way I can figure out how to pair these things, make them work. Now let's check out the actual PS2. Let's get rid of this big box, throw this to the side, and get into the goods here. Gotta make sure I don't cut anything. I shouldn't have any issues there. Now, since I got the PS2 to HDMI, I'm not sure if I got any component cables, which doesn't matter. PS2 to HDMI is perfect. It'll be interesting to see what's in the box here. Again, really well packaged. As you can see, did a really good job keeping the actual system itself safe, which is incredibly important. Another fun fact about Saunders at VideoGame Boutique, he bought all of the Ghost cases for the PS2. He bought every single Ghost case in the world from the guy, I think, who got them manufactured. So if you want a Ghost case, he is the only one that has those, at least in abundant supply, unless you get something used off of eBay. And what I mean by that is you'll notice right here, I want to make sure not to cut my system. That would be kind of terrible. I'm going to pull the scissors out for that. Because I have a very cool red, kind of pink tinge to it, Ghost case, which is so rad looking. So I'm getting a system that's, over 20 years old, but I'm getting a case that's it's brand new. It's no cracks, nothing in it. It's a brand new case here, which is really cool, and you can see that's obviously modified. So I can see all the inner workings. Everything's been cleaned thoroughly. I mean, I see this thing it looks like it was brand new off the floor. I mean, obviously the system, motherboard and stuff is not brand new, but you can tell he's put a lot of time and effort into this, so I'm really happy with that. Everything is super clean. It looks brand new. It looks like you just bought it at Best Buy 25 years ago. So that's really cool. Hard drives go in there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's essentially it. Your PS2 to HDMI is going to go right back here where the AV input is. So it's going to pop in there and should be good. Now the only thing I am wondering, I noticed, is it does have a USB connection that I did not see in the package. Now that may not be necessary. That could just be something extra. And even if that's the case, I'm pretty sure I have a USB lying around to plug in there. And having a USB on the front of the PlayStation will make that easy if that is necessary. So anyway, yeah. So that's the unboxing of my modded PS2. Let's get into the review portion here and get this thing booted up. Alright guys, first thing I just want to show you a quick video of the PlayStation sitting on my shelf. Looks really cool. You'll see me turn it around a little bit, and in the video I was pretty surprised because I was expecting to see some IDE hard drives, not SATA, and so I was super, surprised to see the SATA hard drives, which I believe are a mod. I don't think that was the initial setup for the PS2, but you can see the back with the PS2 to HDMI cable. You can see the hard drive is in there with the network adapter / hard disk drive backing. And then moving on, the other thing that I want to show you a quick video of is in the dark. Now, I didn't realize what the remote was actually for until I started using it, and the remote is for the LEDs lights built into the PlayStation. So you can see the LED lights are quite bright. There's different settings for, strobe, for just constant, for, brightness. You can dim it, so it's really cool. Different colors, blues and greens and oranges. So obviously the red case always gives a little bit of a red or pink tint to it, but you can see the different colors. Now we're going to bump into the kind of meat and potatoes of the entire setup here. So this is just the initial screen when you boot it up the first time, and it can definitely be confusing just because there's so many different options. Most of them you're really not going to use a lot of, like system configuration, PS2 scum. I realize the main ones you're going to use are the Open PS2 Loader, which takes you to your list of games, Sega CD, which is a separate emulator that had to be put on the screen instead of actually in the emulations, and then graphics synthesizer mode. And so we can kind of get to the graphics synthesizer mode in a second. So you'll notice here it does take a few minutes to load once you click on PS2 Loader. And the other thing you're going to notice, and I apologize, is that my Elgato HD60S, it wasn't condensing the audio correctly, and it kept sounding like a chipmunk, and it kind of had a weird echo to it. So I actually muted the audio, so all you're going to hear is some background music. You'll see everything great, but you won't be able to hear it. But when you have it plugged into your TV directly, it sounds fantastic. Everything is perfect. So I just didn't have the audio because my game capture device just isn't quite cooperating with me. So what you'll see here is you'll have the system's Atari Arcade. These are all emulators that you can use, but you'll notice that the rest of this is PlayStation 2 games. And they're listed with N because you have 2 hard drives, over 4 terabytes. And the first hard drive is just PlayStation 2 games from A to M. The second hard drive, which is the one that I loaded up here first, is N through Z, and it also has the additional emulators, including your PlayStation 1 collection. So you can use your L1 and R1 to bump through the system faster, so you're not having to go one by one. And so as you can see here, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Nintendo Game Boy, this is where your emulators will reside, or you can kind of go in here to the apps, and it has like Atari, Nintendo, Sega Master System, Super Nintendo. So the apps has that. Don't worry about the L floater. Everything is HDD games. So, you know, right off the bat, I think the reason we got this is we wanted to play some PS2 games. That's probably the initial reason we picked this up. So let's start off with that. Let's go for Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. And as you'll see before I click on this, it is kind of cool. You can see the game is in the background. He has nice visuals. He has the cover on the right, the CD on the left, or DVD, and then the background is cool. So you let it, as you go to the games, you let it sit for just a second. It'll pop those up. So that's really neat. Just an extra added touch that just kind of gives it that nice look. And then you'll see it on the bottom. You have your settings. The only thing you really need to worry about is run. I mean, everything else you don't want to. If you want to rename your stuff, you can. I mean, why would you? It's already there. You can delete it. Don't do that. But basically, you know, game settings. That just kind of shows the cheats and things, which is kind of cool. There's some cheats built in. But I figured I'd just leave it the way it is, so press X on it, and it says loading configuration, and that pretty much gets you to where you're booting the game up, as if you put a CD or DVD in. So it's really cool. It's just like booting up a PS2 game. It's all kosher, all original looking, and it loads pretty fast. And this is it. This is the game. So I mean, it boots right up. It looks great. That HDMI or component really makes a big difference when you're playing the game. So here, I'll just press start, kind of show you really quick, just a quick little race. I don't want to play the entire game. This isn't about that, but it loads up great. Everything's perfect. I don't know. I can't remember what the loading was like originally, so I can't say that it loads any faster, but it sure does seem like it's cruising right through based off the hard drive. So I know the hard drive's, you know, quite a bit faster. But I mean, yeah, everything runs, I mean, great. Like it plays just like I remember Need for Speed playing. So there's that. And so let's say you play this game for a while and you're kind of done. Like you want to do something else. You know, you're kind of like, okay, I want to play a different game. Well, there's a 6-button combination that you press, and it's the 4 shoulder buttons. So L1, R1, L2, R2, and then start and select. So you press those buttons, and it basically resets the system and takes you back to your initial loading screen. So that's really cool. So if you're stuck somewhere in a game and you need to get out, you just press those 6 buttons, it pops you back out, takes you here, press circle, and then it takes you right back to your PS2 loader. So really convenient. I don't want to go through a bunch of games. Of all the games I've tested, I think every one of them has worked. I haven't found one that hasn't yet, but I know there is. I'm going to go show you a quick Nintendo, just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. Boot to play in a console emulator. Now, the thing is, it still shows all the PS2 games, and I'm guessing that's just because the way the hard drive's set up, it's probably really the system that can't differentiate every single thing. So the way this works is you'll wait for this hard HDD games at the top, you'll wait for this to load, so you'll see the little loading screen in the bottom right. And a lot of trial and error, but like I said, once you figure it out, it's easy. So then you go down to the Nintendo Entertainment System. Here, you press X, and it's going to go to the actual Nintendo screen. It's going to take me to a settings page that lets me highlight the NES games. Get to this page. Now, initially it's going to be confusing because you don't know, like, okay, where are my games? Where's my game list? So it's really easy. Go to CDFS. If you click on the other ones, it doesn't show anything. CDFS, go to Nintendo, and then you pick the game you want by picking the letter. So it has a Nintendo, you know, control in the background, and here are the games. And again, if you're buying this modded PS2 to play Nintendo games, I would highly recommend getting something maybe, you know, a little bit, an NES Classic or something. You're buying this PS2, in my opinion, to play PS2 and PS1 games, and to get to those are really easy. To get to some of the other games, these are just add-ons, so, you know, this is awesome. So, for instance, you want to play a game like, I don't know, Airwolf. Press X, and boom, it boots up instantly. So, the nice thing is, there is a little bit of a little bit of work to get to them, but once you get to the game, it's no problem. So, like I said, that was the biggest thing, is just trying to find the emulator and where to go. It took me a second because I was going through the wrong loading screen, so make sure you go on that other initial loading screen. Now, the other thing about this is there is no quick way to exit. As far as I know, I believe if you exit the game, which is no problem, it takes you back to your other games. But if you want to actually get back to the other screen, you get stuck here. So what you have to do is you actually have to reboot your system, which, might be a little bit of a pain, but again, if you're playing NES games, you're going to be playing NES games until it's time to turn the PlayStation off, and then when you turn it back on, you'll be playing a different system. So at the end of the day, it would be nice maybe to have a way to boot right into the main menu again from the emulators, but at the same time, to me, it's not a big deal. It's kind of a moot point. And there's, all these emulators, I assume are going to be pretty similar. I don't want to go through all the Super Nintendo emulator, and I showed you the NES, it shows you they have to go through that specific hard drive to find it, and you got to kind of, tell it which way to navigate to find the ROMs, but that was pretty easy. I have a feeling they're all going to be kind of like that. What I want to show you, lastly, is the PlayStation 1 games, because it does require you to change the settings on your PlayStation. So that's what this graphics synthesizer mode's all about. So you press X on this, and what's going to happen is you have to change this setting or else your PlayStation 1 games won't actually load. For the most part. Maybe it depends on your TV, but for me they wouldn't. And so what you want to do is you actually want to go and press circle on SD TV mode, and it just kind of changes I think the way your PlayStation is reading the graphics or the video like input. So you press circle. It says GS mode selected, NTSC, and then you press select, then you press start. And now it saves that configuration until you reboot your system. Once you reboot your system, it goes right back into the normal HD TV, so you can play your PS2 games. Let's go back to your screen, and then with the PlayStation, you actually want to go to the normal PS2 loader, and you want to go to ELF on the menu. So I got this screen here. Real quick, you can see this Codebreaker app. This is actually a cool little app you can load, and if you're having trouble with games, it's got cheats in it, so you can actually go back on some of those old school NES or Super Nintendo games or whatever you're having problems with, load up some cheats and apply them to your game. So I won't get into that, but it is there. So ELF Loader, this is where you're gonna have you're gonna find most of your games at. So we can pick a game that we're all familiar with. Let me just see something really quick. Let's do, I don't know. Gauntlet Legends. I always loved Gauntlet Legends as a kid. Now, I'm going to fast forward to the loading screen again, but the key to this is you got to be patient because it does take a little while to load. The PS2 games load up really fast. The Nintendo games load up incredibly fast. PS1 games for some reason do take a little while, so I don't want to bore you guys with that, so I'm just going to fast forward through this. And then you wait another second for it to load, and we are here. Now you'll see that part of my screen, it's definitely kind of scrunched in. That's partially because the TV, it's partially because maybe the GSM, the graphical settings, but that's all fixable. I can zoom in, I can do whatever I want. I mean, the TV I've got is part of it. But yeah, here is Gauntlet Legends. So you load it up, and when it comes to switching discs, Morpheus also sends a guide through your email. I got a guide from him, so he did help with that. So, here we go. This is, Gauntlet Legends, as fondly remembered. And there it is. So, old PS1, tons of loading screens. And I think there's some ways to make this game look even better. But for the most part, this is how you get there. I don't want to spend too much time doing it, but I mean, it's minus the screen being a little scrunched up. I think part of that's maybe even my settings on my TV are off. But I can change that later. The game is there. And I'm going to go through a little later and mess with it some more, but that's kind of what it looks like. So, and then when you're done, you press your 6 buttons to exit, press yes, and it takes you back to the main menu. So I hope that kind of gives you a basic idea. I don't want to go through every single emulator on here. I just wanted to give you a basic overview of navigating the systems, kind of what I thought. I think there is a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to it. It's going to take some time going to the menus and the emulators and figuring everything out. There's been a lot of resets that I've had to do on the system because I just didn't know where I was or I got lost. But after an hour of doing it, I feel pretty confident going through most of the stuff and figuring it out. So the main selling point for me is definitely the humongous library of PS2 games. The library of PS1 games are great too. I just need to figure out the graphic settings for those. But the PS2 looks fantastic, and that's really the main reason I bought this, is to have basically a full ROM set of PS2 games. The other emulators are just, you know, extras as far as I'm concerned. Like, I've got, you know, Raspberry Pi. There's so many options for old school emulation that you don't necessarily have to have the PS2 for that, although it's nice. But for me, it's having the ROM set for the PlayStation, you know, the PlayStation 2. So anyway, guys, that's a wrap on this portion of the video. So overall, guys, I think this system is incredible. It's so cool. It's everything I wanted. If you have that, you know, nostalgia itch, this is definitely the way to go for those PS1 and PS2 titles. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check out his site. He has a ton of different compilations for every budget. So, you know, $150 I think minimum, all the way up to, you know, $500. I think he even has one for $1,000 that has the Games Vanguard portable gaming unit built into it. But $500 is the one that I got, and it is everything I wanted and more. If it's within your budget, I highly recommend it, just because it's that cool. It's that neat to have all those, and as you're kind of getting your game collection going, this is a great way to play some of those games while you're still out there collecting. So that being said, guys, thank you so much. Let me know what you think. If you're interested, check out his site. He didn't pay me to do this. This was just something I've been wanting to do, and I wanted this system myself. So I just want to put the video out there to give, you know, other consumers an opportunity to take a look at it before they buy. And I think that's what this is all about. So have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon.